Welcome back, beautiful, beloved souls. I hope you have a wonderful Easter. My name is Gem Stone, and I'm a psychic medium, and I am an author. On this channel, you will find that I don't fit a particular niche. Content, just like my books, varies. So I look at anything and everything through a lens. And before we get into it, I just want to let you know I'm very grateful for any view and every view. And I'm grateful for my subscribers. Thank you for being loyal. So let's begin. Yesterday, I was watching one of those YouTube channels that reviews TikTok. You know the one. Quick clips, big claims, millions of views. And one video stopped me in my tracks. A very confident psychic was saying that people who suffer from sleep paralysis are part of a royal or elite bloodline. She even hinted reptilian. Now, normally I'd scroll on, but I couldn't because I've had sleep paralysis since I was about 10 years old. At its worst, in my 30s, it was happening every week. And now, at 65, it still visits me occasionally, like an unwanted guest who knows where you live. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Out of my 3 children, only my youngest experiences it too. So, when I heard that claim, I didn't laugh it off. I thought, hang on a minute. Let me tell you what sleep paralysis actually feels like for those who've never had it. You wake up, but you can't move. You try to speak. Nothing comes out. Your body feels frozen, pinned. You can't move. And then comes the worst part. You're not alone. There's a presence. Sometimes you see it. Sometimes you just know it's there. And it's absolutely terrifying. So when someone comes along and says, this means you're special, chosen, part of some elite bloodline, I understand why that idea spreads, because it takes something frightening and turns it into something meaningful. Now, I want to explore this properly. Not dismiss it, but not blindly accept it either. Let's look at both sides. The scientific view. Scientists say that sleep paralysis is actually a glitch. When we sleep, especially during dreaming, our brain switches the body off. It's a safety mechanism so we don't physically act out our dreams. But sometimes the mind wakes up and the body doesn't. So you're conscious, but still in dream mode. And because you're still partly dreaming, your brain can project things into the room. Figures, shadows, voices, even physical sensations like pressure on your chest. And here's something fascinating. This exact experience has been reported all over the world. Different cultures, different beliefs, same core experiences. In Japan, it's called Kano Shibari. I probably mispronounced that. Kano Shibari. I'll put it in the description what it's called. In Europe, they used to call it the night hag. In other cultures, it's spirits or entities sitting on the chest. So, science would say there's no royal bloodline, no reptilian ancestry, just a very human brain caught between two states. The spiritual perspective. But here's where it gets interesting, because not everything people experience during sleep paralysis feels random. Some people, including myself, have had experiences that feel incredibly personal, almost targeted. And in spiritual circles, sleep paralysis is often seen very differently. Some believe it's a thinning of the veil between worlds, a state where the soul is partially out of the body, or a moment where you're more open to other dimensions. In other words, not a glitch, a doorway. Now, I've also explored ideas like abduction, spiritual contact, even channeling. And I'll be honest, when you've had certain experiences in your life, it becomes harder just to say, oh, that was only my brain, because it didn't feel like only your brain. The bloodline claim. So let's come back to that TikTok claim that people who experience sleep paralysis are part of a special bloodline. Royal, elite, even reptilian. Now, I've looked into my own ancestry. I've traced my family back hundreds of years. There are hints of interesting stories, family crests, whispers of illegitimacy and wealth, but nothing that clearly says you are from a royal line. And more importantly, sleep paralysis happens to people from all walks of life. Every country, every background, rich, poor, famous, unknown. So, if this was about bloodlines, we would expect to see a very specific pattern. And we don't. So, why you? Why me? This is the real question. Why do some people experience this and others don't? Science points to things like genetics, sleep patterns, stress and trauma, a more vivid dreaming mind. And interestingly, it can run in families, which might explain why my son and I both experience it. Not because of royalty, but because of how our brains are wired. Finding the balance. So, where does that leave us? are we dealing with a neurological phenomena, a spiritual experience, or something we don't fully understand yet? Personally, I think it's dangerous to jump straight to extreme conclusions, to tell people you're part of a royal reptilian bloodline. That can send people down a very confusing path. Let me repeat that. That can send people down a very confusing path. But I also think it's too simple to say, it's just your brain, nothing more. Because the experience itself is powerful, real, and deeply personal. My honest view, after a lifetime of experiencing this, here's where I stand. I don't believe sleep paralysis means you're part of some elite or royal bloodline. But I do believe people who experience it often have very active minds, strong internal awareness, and sometimes a deeper connection to their inner world. Whether you call that psychological or spiritual depends on your perspective. Closing. So, if you've seen that TikTok and you've experienced sleep paralysis, I just want to say this very clearly. You are not being targeted because you're some part of some secret bloodline. And you are not alone. Millions of people have experienced exactly what you have. And whether you see it as science, spirituality, or something in between, the most important thing is this: understand it, don't fear it, and don't let someone else's theory define your reality, because your experience belongs to you. If you've had sleep paralysis, I'd like to hear your story in the comments. Do you think it's purely scientific or something more? Let's talk about it. And please, if you do drop a comment, I ask you do so respectfully. Thank you very much again for watching. Please be kind to each other. Take care of yourselves. Love, light, and blessings. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.